Hi, this is Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, and bringing you another uh, video in the Carson City Stuff I Like series. This is part 12. And this one is going to be letting you take a look at my 1875 Carson City silver denomination set. So all the silver coins that were made in Carson City, or denominations that were made in Carson City in 1875. And this was there was a lot of them. This is a big year for various reasons. One, and at the national level, they passed the Specie Redemption Act, which got rid of fractional paper currency and allowed holders of fractional paper currency to exchange for silver in the same denomination, basically. So they needed a lot of silver to exchange out all the paper. Uh, and so that's one. So there's an increased pressure to uh, produce. But another one was that the Comstock load and elsewhere in the country, but Comstock load was reaching its peak production of silver and gold. Um, so it was boom time in the Comstock load, just about 15, 16 miles from Carson City, which means it was a boom time at the Carson City Mint. So there's that, and then also Senator Jones from Nevada got a bill passed. President Grant signed the bill in 1875 that allowed or created the 20-cent piece. So that started in 1875. So what we have here is with this set, we've got two different types of dimes, which I'll get to. We've got the 20-cent piece, which basically was only 1875, 1876 at Carson City, and good luck trying to get an 1876. It's doable, but this one is more readily available. And then, of course, a quarter, the half, and the trade dollar, which was the dollar size coin that was being produced at the time. So there is a lot of various things going on at national and local level that really created sort of a boom at the Carson City Mint, and six different silver coin types slash denominations. So this prompted me to try to put a raw set together. Raw set because there's no way I could afford putting a straight graded set of these six coins together that are in third party graded holders. So I said, well, let me try to put together this raw set, and I was able to achieve it, but it's not at a small cost. I mean, these six coins cost as much as the VF 30 1889 CC Morgan that I've previously shown, and cost or cost as much as the AU Details 1876 trade dollar that I have in my primary collection, both in PCGS holders. So it's not at a small cost to put this together, but it's infinitely more affordable than putting together a straight graded set in holders. So let's take a little bit closer look at each of these, and we'll then do a little video towards the end of this particular video presentation. Just a quick note. Seated Liberty design here was Christian Gobret, although the trade dollar was William Barber, the designer. For the reverse of these two types, William Barber was playing around with the location of the mint mark, and so for San Francisco and Carson City, they have two different styles of mint mark. So let's take a look. So this is the a little bit closer look at the dime. This is the above bow or within wreath. You can see the mint mark here. It's above the bow within the wreath. So there's some people will call it above bow, and the other type is below bow. Some will call it within wreath and below wreath. I like above bow and below bow. So of the two types, they minted a total of over 4.5 million of these. Again, Species Redemption Act, boom, times at the Comstock load caused a big jump of a mintage of silver dimes at the Carson City Mint. Now, there are no records of the above bow versus below bow mintage at the Carson City Mint. They didn't publish those records. They're all dimes. So that we know that there's 4,645,000 dimes that were minted, but we don't know the mintage. But if we assume that they produced these in sequential pattern, meaning they got the dies for the above bow first, which is what Barber wanted, then if we look at the mint records, we could get a rough estimate of 1.1 to 1.6 million above bow created, which is about 25 to 35% of this total mintage of dimes at Carson City. So the lower minted frequency versus the below bow. This is conjecture, because if the mint was not going sequentially, they did a little bit with the above bow, did a little bit with the below bow, then went back to the above bow, then we don't know. But it's logical that they went in sequence and used the above bow dies first and then below bow dies later, and which would give these kind of mintage figures roughly based on mint records of monthly production. Of this, we know that there's an estimated 2,900 to 6,600 survivors, which is less than 1% of this estimate right here. And of those, there's only 125 to 175 uncirculated survivors, meaning there is like 99% of the surviving specimens of these surviving specimens are uncirculated, making them a little bit easier to find. So that's the above bow. Now the below bow, and you can see that instead of being up here, they move. William Barber moved the mint mark down here, and this was likely the second set of dies that were put into production. So that of this total mintage of over 4.5 million, there about 3 million to 3.5 million, 65 to 75% of that mintage was the below bow variety. They estimate the survival of this to be about 1,500 to 2,750, less than 1% of this mintage. And 65 to 85 uncirculated survivors estimated. Now, that said, This one is a little bit easier to come by than this one. So the above bow, a little bit easier to come by than the below bow, even though it had, the above bow had a lower estimated mintage and than the below bow. And the conjecture there, at least my conjecture, is that maybe people put these away or put them back a little bit more frequently than these, so there's more survivors. Regardless, it's still nice to have each of them in the collection. Then they also, I mentioned Senator Jones, which is a Nevada senator, put forward a bill to start a 20-cent piece as well, which is passed by President Grant. And so for a couple of years, they produce these. The 1875 is far easier to come by than the 1876 20-cent piece. You can see this one has a little bit of damage, probably because somebody was trying to clean it or do something. So this one would never straight grade at a third-party grading company. Only 133,290 of these were originally minted, of which about 5,250 to 6,500 survive. That's about 4 to 5% survive. And an estimated 300 to 400 uncirculated survivors, meaning there's about 99% of these, or at least 95% of the survivors are in some circulated state. The quarter, again, was just your standard seated liberty. I'm going to go back one slide a second. If you look here at the quarter, look at the eagle on the right. That's the standard seated liberty reverse design. A banner over the top. Eagle is looking to our left. Arrows on the lower right. Olive berries and branches on the lower left in the talons. And shield on the breast of the eagle. So you go back to the dime did not have enough room for eagle and all the other devices, so that's why they have a wreath and just a simple one dime. When they instituted this 20-cent piece, it's a eagle that is more similar to the trade dollar, which was William Barber, and this is William Barber as well. So the eagle is looking to our right. The olive branches are on the lower right, and the arrows are lower left. So it's different than what we see in the Christian Gobrecht designed reverse for the seated liberty. Same basic obverse, but the reverse bears William Barber's design. So survival, like I said, 5,200 and 6,500, about 4 to 5%. 3 to 400 are uncirculated. Most of these are in circulated condition. For the 25-cent piece, the quarter dollar, not many more. It's about 140,000, and the survival is only 225 to 325 of these are estimated to survive in all grades, and only 22 to 30 of them are uncirculated. So less than 1% of the original mintage survives, and about 1% of the survivors are found in circulated condition. This is a tough one to fill out this particular denomination set from 1970 or 1875. And then there is the half dollar. They minted over 1 million of these half dollars, but only 1,000 to 1,500 of them survive. So that's less than 1/10%. And the conjecture is a lot of these were melted. So there's very, very few survivors. Only 50 to 75 are uncirculated. So um, less less than 1/10% of the original mintage, and less than 1/10% of the survivors are uncirculated. Now, the other thing that happened is, remember, some of these probably stayed local to Carson City, Virginia City, the local area. In October of 1875, they had a massive, terrible fire in Virginia City, which pretty much destroyed the city. So, uh, a lot of the specimens that are even around bear some semblance of having been in a fire. So, a lot of them sent back east, ultimately melted. Some of them stayed local and survived. Some of them stayed local and were probably lost in the big fire in Virginia City in 1875. So this one here is one of these really harder to find half dollars from 1875, and certainly some damage. This has probably been cleaned. It's been damaged. It would never fly in a third party graded holder, at least not straight graded. Then the trade dollar, which also was still being produced in 1875 all the way through 1878. This was, this was a William Barber design. Notice how the eagle is the head is facing to our right, and the arrows are over here on the left, and the olive branches on the right. So more of a William Barber type of eagle than the Christian Gobrecht type of eagle. So there was 1.5 million, over 1.5 million of these produced. 1,800 to 3,000 survive, which is less than 1% survive. Remember, these were a large number of these were sent to the Far East for trade as a trade dollar. So a lot of them were lost there. A lot of them were chop marked. This one does not have any chop marks, so maybe this stayed here. And there's an estimated 165 to 225 that are uncirculated survivors, meaning of this less than 1% survivor, less than 1% of the survivors are uncirculated, meaning you're going to be more likely to find a circulated example. So that checks off all 6 of these in terms of the background. Let's take a look at some video of these. All right, let's take a look. So these are my holders that I make. I buy the holders off of Amazon. They're sort of an NGC-like holder. I create the labels and and then encapsulate them. I like keeping my coins that way rather than in books or slips and what have you, particularly for this collection. So this is the first one. This one is the above bow variety. Let's get that back in focus here. There we go. And so it's well circulated, and let's see here. So around a little bit, get a little bit more light on it. There we go. So circulated a little bit on the dark side, but a nice one to have. It's Carson City. So It's a nice one to have for me. Then switching over to the below bow. Let's go back and just take another quick look. And there you can see the mint mark is above the bow inside the wreath. And we switch over to the below. Now this one here, below bow variety for the dime, you can see this one's probably been cleaned. Very bright, and that's why I keep the collection raw. So there's the mint mark is below the bow. So I keep it in my own holders instead of going through the expense of sending in something that's going to either it's going to come back as a details coin. This one here is a little bit of, looks like a little bit of damage here, but certainly may have been cleaned. It's hard to say. This is the 20-cent piece. 20-cent piece, 1875 cc. Now you can see the eagle is similar to the eagle on the trade dollar. The eagle's looking off to our right, and the arrows and the olive branches are flipped versus the standard seated Liberty. There's no banner or anything like that. So 20-cent piece. Then 25-cent piece. This is a tough bugger to get. There's the label. I didn't go over this in the slide portion, but I still look at them to see if there's if it's a variety, and I'll put it on the label here. There's sometimes a marker's a little bit harder to find than if you had an uncirculated coin or AU coin. But there is the $quarter, the 25-cent piece. And this is what I meant about the seated Liberty. You can see that there's a banner. The eagle's holding a banner. Eagle's looking to our left, and then the arrows and olive branches are flipped versus that 20-cent piece. Then the 50-cent piece or $half. This one's pretty beat up. You can see it has some damage here, so this one was never straight grade. Probably been cleaned. Look at it, it's too bright. But it is a CC $half, and these are very tough, very tough. As I was saying in the slides, probably very large portion of them were melted, and there's not very many of these around. But this is one, and it completes this denomination set. The last one is a trade dollar. Now this one here is a details. It's in an NGC holder. The one in my regular collection is a straight graded AU 55, if I remember right. And as we've talked about in previous videos, the trade dollar, the Liberty is extending the olive branch to the west, towards the east, as opposed to the facing the other way with a seated Liberty dollar. 1875, and this is what I was talking about. You can see the eagle is looking to our right. It has a banner, which a banner up above. The eagle's not holding the banner. The arrows and olive branches are flip-flop. And there completes a denomination set. Let's go back to the slides for conclusion remarks. So there they are, and let's summarize. This is an important part of my collection. It was just one of those things. I said, well, let me try to put together a complete denomination set from a single year from the Carson City Mint. And as I started looking around, this one was compelling because of the 2 dimes and the 20-cent piece. So it was compelling from that reason, but is also reasonably affordable. Meaning, if you try to put the same set, you'd have one in 1876. You might have 1 dime, but you're going to have an extremely hard to find 20-cent piece, and so on for each year. So this sort of became the happy meeting place of affordability in an uncirculated condition with the compelling aspects of the design, the bill that was put in by Senator Jones, with the number that were minted because of the Specie Redemption Act, and also the boom of both the Comstock Lode and the Carson City Mint. So thank you for allowing me to share these with you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Remember, buy stuff you like, but be smart about what you buy. Bye-bye.